Welcome to the Blockchain Scholars Podcast, sponsored by VeChain. My name is Daniel Liebau. I'm an affiliate faculty member at Singapore Management University and your host for today. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest, Agostino Capponi. Agostino is a professor of industrial engineering and operations research here at Columbia University in New York. He's the director of the university's Data Science Institute and also an editor of the important academic journal Management Science in the finance department. Welcome, Agostino. It's great to have you. So let's start with the first question. What's the actual title of your paper, and what's also the research question that you're trying to answer?
Yes, the title of the paper is The Adoption of Blockchain-Based Decentralized Exchanges, and the objective of this research is to understand what are the benefits and costs on the adoption of automated market makers. So understanding how this new form of trading deployed on blockchain can be efficient and can incentivize provision of liquidity from the new market makers who are called the liquidity providers in this space. Mm-hmm. And we also try to understand what's the optimal design of the automated market maker from the point of view of the ecosystem and from the point of view of those who are providing liquidity.
Before we dive into the detail, let's get on the same page about what an AMM is. Rather than utilizing order books and relying on centralized intermediaries, AMMs replace competing market makers in a traditional exchange trading venue with collaborating liquidity providers.
They create a new market structure based on liquidity pools, where any token holder can become a liquidity provider and own a share of the pool by depositing their tokens.
Is this paper an empirical paper or a theory paper? How do you think about that?
We view it more as a theory paper, but said that the paper generates a number of testable implications that we have verified empirically using data.
So did you extract all the data that you analyzed directly from the blockchain?
Exactly. So the data is basically data that we take from the blockchain. More specifically, we look at 14 automated market makers from Uniswap and SushiSwap, which are the two largest, or among the two largest decentralized exchanges. And we look at a very complete data set running from the start of 2021 until mid or end of 2021. Mm-hmm. And we essentially look at all transactions that have been executed, including deposits of tokens, withdrawal of tokens, swap of tokens. Okay. And based on this data set, we are able to say something about the implications that we derive theoretically.
Okay, and then most importantly for practitioners that are watching today, what are the results? What did you find?
I'd like to give a practitioner-oriented view of the results. I think the main result is first is that we identify a problem in the provision of liquidity. We go very deep into the market microstructure of these decentralized exchanges, and one of the problems we find is that from the point of view of the liquidity providers, because prices are only decided based on the inventory of liquidity providers, then this form of passive market making generated a problem for liquidity providers, which means that once they have deposited, they will not be able to avoid any arbitrage. Mm-hmm. So we show that despite the presence of arbitrage opportunities and their attempt to withdraw liquidity from the pool, they will not be able to do that. And the reason is that arbitrageurs are arbitraging the entire pool, mm-hmm. while the liquidity providers are sharing this pool. Yeah. And the idea is that the problem that we find is exactly that in order to get executed on blockchain, you have to pay a fee. So this order execution mechanism, which is prioritizing orders with high fees, makes sure that liquidity providers have to pay a fee which is too high in order to withdraw liquidity and avoid arbitrage. Okay. And that's one of the problems that we find. Then we try to understand exactly what are the conditions under which liquidity providers would stop depositing from the pool, in the pool. And we show that this depends very much on the trading volume, because liquidity providers are making money from fees, mm-hmm. that are charged to traders. And also it depends on the volatility of the tokens, because the higher is the volatility of the tokens that are being swapped, mm-hmm. in this decentralized exchange, and the higher will be the value of the arbitrage opportunity. Mm-hmm. So the arbitrageurs will extract more value from these liquidity providers. And we also show that there could be a liquidity freeze under extreme conditions. So if the tokens are very volatile, then it will basically be always unprofitable for liquidity providers to deposit. And after showing this, we also propose a fix to the problem. I mean, it's not going to completely eliminate the problem, but basically we show that if you act and properly design the pricing function, which, as I mentioned before, is really depending on the supply of tokens on the pool, depending on how much convexity, which means how much curvature you have in this pricing function, you will be able to either impose more price impact and therefore discourage these arbitrageurs from trading, or reduce this price impact by choosing a lower curvature, incentivize more arbitrage, but also gaining more from investors, because investors also suffer the same price impact as arbitrageurs.
What do you think an investor is in this context?
That's a good question. For me, investors are more traders who have some private value from trading, so they extract some benefit from trading. For example, I could be a trader, a user who wants to run a DApps on Ethereum, so I need to really get access to an Ethereum token. So if I happen to have a stable coin, I can go on the automated market maker and I can swap my stable coins for Ethereum, and then I can use Ethereum for my private valuation, for the fact that I need to run a DApp.
What would you say is the sort of main takeaway for practitioners? So you've identified the problem, you proposed a solution, but right now, what should practitioners be careful about when they interact with an AMM?
So, for example, a practitioner, a company which has decided to deposit liquidity, one of the implications is be careful about what is going to be the token volatility. So if you are dealing with very volatile tokens, then you should really think of disincentivizes arbitrageurs. So you should design this pricing curve in a way that there is limited opportunity for the arbitrageurs. For example, charging a lot of price impact by increasing the curvature. So, and this might even be adapted dynamically over time, depending on what are your forecasts for the volatility of these token pairs that you are managing. I think that's one of the most significant implications. So in a nutshell, basically what the paper is saying for a practitioner is that this mechanism of providing liquidity gives too much optionality. So there are too many opportunities for sniping, which means taking advantage of these fees in order to perform arbitrage. And as a result, liquidity providers might end up losing.
Let's look forward into the future. What are the opportunities that you see for future research?
Yeah, I think future research, which can a practitioner, one I think of the most important problems in my view is to understand how to really design these pricing functions. Like in our study, we take a very simple approach. We look at pricing functions which are essentially in between zero price impact function, which are the linear pricing curve, and the constant product function, which is used by Uniswap. But I think in terms of market design, there is a lot of important research that needs to be done to better understand precisely how we can make trading on automated market makers to be profitable for liquidity providers. So from a practitioner's point of view, we have mechanisms such as designing of the pricing curve, charging the trading fee, how to optimally combine all those elements that are part of this new form of trading on blockchain in order to help the entire ecosystem. So this means make sure that the market makers are willing to provide liquidity so that there is more depth in the pool, and as a result there is more price discovery, so we can understand better what information is being incorporated into prices, how it reflects fundamentals and so on. And that's I think one of the main research questions that in my view should be addressed, and also understanding whether or not this new form of market making can coexist or can replace the traditional form of market making in centralized limit order books.
Yeah. Do you see any opportunity to use the concept of an AMM outside of the crypto markets?
It's a great question. I think the use of automated market maker can be very helpful, and the whole space of DeFi in general for emerging market countries, or in general, like for any form of trading where there is very limited information and very limited price discovery. For example, if we think about countries where there is a very unsophisticated financial system, so that investors or even users are worried about trading because they don't have any idea on what price they will be quoted, or they are worried about being scammed or being taken advantage from, then automated market maker can provide a way to understand better what prices to quote. And for those countries which have an unstable monetary policy, for example, again, emerging market countries or countries in Africa, then automated market maker can give a way to discover prices through trading.
That's really fantastic. Thank you for tuning into the Blockchain Scholars podcast, sponsored by VeChain today. If you found this session useful, please subscribe and join us again next month.